Hi, Banu. How are you?
Thanks, Ezzah.
You're welcome. So, yeah, maybe you can share a little bit about your background to our 25 participants right now.
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Ezzah. So, thanks to all of you joining me today for this talk called Net Zero Carbon Emission Initiative. Myself, Banuprevathy. Basically, I am a geologist from a geological background. I studied my master's and degree in University of Malaya. I have 4 years of experience in a company called Petrosys as a support geoscientist. And I went to offshore. I have some experience in offshore, about 2 years. And then I joined, I team up with ALECA. And yeah, so.
Awesome. Okay, so thank you, Banu. Is that all? Maybe you want to add a little bit more, no?
Okay. So can we start or?
I think we will start exactly at 2:05 p.m., which we have 1 minute left, and then we shall begin to our main agenda. Okay, so now we have 27. First of all, again, thank you everyone of the 27 amazing participants for being here on time. You guys just missed out my introduction, too bad. But I'll give the floor to Banu within a few minutes. Okay, I'm gonna start sharp at 2:05 p.m. and we should proceed to the main agenda. Right, so let's wait for a little while more. We have 27 participants right now. Please turn on your camera as well. We would like to see your faces. And again, do drop your questions along the way when we're presenting. We would love to have your feedbacks, your comments, okay, your questions as well. All right, we have more people coming in. Thank you so much. This is actually our first episode. Okay. So it's already 2:05 p.m. Shall we proceed, Banu?
Yeah, sure.
All right, the floor is yours.
Yeah, I'll take over from Ezzah now. So basically, this talk is effort by Team ALECA to create awareness about carbon emissions and its direct relevance with global warming and how are we going to tackle it. Yeah. So the first thing is we talk about the problem. Yeah, why are we so worried about carbon emissions? Okay, it's because carbon emissions causes global warming. Okay, and what does global warming causes is climate change. It gives a lot of risk on extreme weathers. You know, risk of drought, heavy precipitation causes floods. You know, it increase the high risk in coastal ecosystem and eventually promotes species extinction. Yeah, and also we have to worry about heat waves, land heat waves, and marine heat waves. And because of the melting of the glaciers causes sea level rise, and some of the countries might be ended up under the sea. Yeah, so scientists are actually telling us we are ruining our planet every day by just living our life. Believe it or not, that is the truth. Yeah. So if you don't take it seriously, if you think this is not a serious issue, let me go into the next slide. Okay, this is an event that happened just last month in northern India. Glacier broke off and triggered massive floods. Okay, it's not only triggering floods, but it took more than 30 lives of Indian citizens. Right? If you think that, oh no, this is not happening to us, might not now, but trust me, it's just a matter of time. Yeah. So let's look into what is actually driving into global warming. So this is a graph based on the activities that causes the global warming. So if you look on the x-axis, it's basically the increment of the temperature, a global mean sea temperature, and over the time. So when we look at this graph, the blue line is basically the global warming that caused by natural activities such as volcanoes, and the orange line is global warming that caused by human-induced activities. Yeah, so we could see, started from 1900 years, there is a massive increase in the temperature, about increase in 1 degree Celsius, just because it's caused by human-induced activities. Yeah, and we actually, when we zoom in at the human-induced activities, when I add another parameter into what are the main contributors for this global warming, is that this huge volume of dark gray area here is actually caused by carbon dioxide emissions. Yeah. So carbon dioxide is the main reason why I'm going to talk about, and it's the main reason why the global temperature has increased to more than 1 degree at the moment. Yeah. So, do you know which human activity that contributes higher carbon dioxide emissions?
Maybe we can ask the floor. Anyone have any answer? I see here Ziad Benor. Yeah. You want to answer the question? Hi. Well, can you repeat the question again, Banu? I will give the floor to the participants.
Which human activities contribute higher carbon emissions?
I believe transportation.
Okay, so it's because of burning of fossil fuels. Basically, the most of the carbon emissions is actually coming from fossil fuels. Yeah. So 84. Anyone guess what this number is? 84.
What does 84 stands for? Can Ashraf said 84% of what?
Correct. So 84% of the world's energy consumption is actually coming from fossil fuels. Yeah. So only 7% is coming from hydroelectricity, and 5% is actually coming from renewables. And how much do you think of Malaysia's energy comes from fossil fuels?
Yeah, 94. I want to pick a guess as well. I want to pick 94. Dear Dr. Mazlan,
94%. Yes. That's right. 94% of the energy consumption in Malaysia is coming from fossil fuels. Yeah, only 5% is coming from hydroelectricity, and 1% is coming from renewable. Yeah, and if you know, if you look at 2018 commitment that is made by Malaysia, actually Malaysia has announced its target to reach 20% renewable energy by 2025. Okay, so in next 4 years, we have to actually increase the pie here from 1% to 20%. So we have 19% to achieve in order to achieve the goal. Yeah.
Okay.
So, and then the next chart is on the world's carbon dioxide emission by continent. Yeah. So we can see here is the major chunk of the carbon dioxide emission is actually coming from Asia Pacific. Yeah. And then continue by North America, and then by Europe. Yeah. When I zoom into this Asia Pacific, yeah, we could see that, you know, the major chunk of the carbon dioxide is emitted from China, which is 57%, around 58%, and second is the India and Japan and South Korea, right? When we look at where Malaysia stands in here, so we only emits 1.4% of the carbon dioxide. Yeah. So does that mean Malaysia no need to worry about this? We can just keep quiet, not doing anything? No, right? So it's not about, you know, offshoring your carbon baggage from one country to another country, because we live in the same planet, right? What affects China does affect us. COVID-19 is a perfect example. It affects China, and it does affect the whole world, right? China, you know, we all know that, you know, a lot of things that we are using here is actually getting manufactured in China. Yeah, so that is why it's quite obvious that a major chunk of the carbon emission is actually coming from China, right? So it is actually, and we have to take initiative as well. If Malaysian industry is getting manufactured in China, so what are the things that it can be done, that we put in a policy in place? What are the things that we can do to decrease, to help China decrease in achieving net zero goals, right? So we have talked about the problem. We have talked about we have looked into the statistics. Okay, so let's talk about where are we now currently. Yeah, So from all these human activities, we have actually increased 1 degree Celsius of the global temperature. Okay, so scientists or survey says that if you actually continue the same rate of our activity, there's a higher possibility that we can actually contribute to more than 2 degrees Celsius. Yeah, so if we continue with the current trend, we could reach 1.5 degrees Celsius within about 2035 to 2040, right? So,
yeah, but can it be below 1.5?
Well, that's a good question. Maybe not, because unless we have a huge breakthrough in alternative energy, but with the current existing dependency on the fossil fuels, it is mostly very difficult, unavoidable to reach less than 1 degree. So 1.5 degree is the optimistic option. So that's why we're striving to limit the global warming to actually 1.5 degrees Celsius. Yeah, and to limit this 1.5 degrees Celsius, there's a lot of money investment that has to be invested into it. So we have looked at where we now, okay? So what are we actually doing at the moment to tackle this problem? So this is where the world leaders has come together and signed a Paris Agreement to treat the climate change, limit the warming below 2 degrees Celsius, preferably 1.5 degrees Celsius, and also to reach a state to be a net zero emission. So before I dive into this slide, so I would like to talk about carbon footprint. Maybe some of you have heard about carbon footprint. So this slide, this is carbon footprint. So along the way, when we move into 2050, what we have to do is to decrease our carbon footprint. Okay, not only to decrease our carbon footprint, but also to increase in consumption of carbon footprint. So whatever that we emit, we have to balance it by consuming it. So that is why you have to balance. That is where carbon neutral, net zero emission comes in. A lot of countries are striving to become net zero emissions or carbon neutral. So countries like UK, Japan, Korea has pledged to become carbon neutral by 2050, and China is by 2060. So not to forget that some of the organizations, such as Microsoft, have pledged to become carbon negative by 2030. Yeah, and not to forget Malaysian organizations, our national oil company Petronas also pledged to become net zero by 2050. Okay, so we have a policy in place. We know what is the problem. We look at the statistics. We have a policy in place. Yeah, but how are we going to execute it, right? So this is by 3 methods. Either we reduce the carbon emission, okay, or if you can't avoid the reduction of carbon emission, what we could do with the emitted carbon. So we can capture the emitted carbon, or to conserve and compensate it. Okay, so I'll go into the detail. So how are we going to reduce it? First, to decline the dependency on fossil fuels. So this is where, as a country, comes into play. How are we going to decrease the dependency on fossil fuels? Is by increasing dependency on other alternative energy, such as renewable. Maybe as a country, we should invest more on renewables. Not to forget, as an individual, I know some of the landed houses, they have a solar panel built on the rooftop, which you are actually decreasing your carbon footprint. The second one is the increase in energy efficiency. Okay, so when we use any electrical appliances, that is energy efficient. So basically, you contribute to reducing your carbon footprint. If you're aware of on the logo on the right hand side, if you have seen this, so this is actually a Malaysian government initiative to offer a reward to people who actually buys an energy efficiency electrical appliances such as fridge or air conditions. So they actually give you a rebate if you buy anything that rated a 4 or 5. Yeah. So this comes under Sustainable Energy Development Authority, SEDA. You can actually Google into this website to see what are other initiatives that actually they are giving. So the third one is technology and behavioral changes. These technology and behavioral changes comes hand in hand. Okay, even you have a best technology involved, but people are not leveraging it, so you can't actually reduce your carbon footprint. Yeah, people have to change their conventional mindset to use the availability of technology so that you can reduce your carbon emissions. So the other way, just now I'll talk about people and countries here. When we go into deeply into organization, if an organization going through the similar journey, wanting to help the country, to reduce your carbon emission, to reach net zero effort, they should consider these things like they should increase the efficiency in process and operational in an organization. So to increase the process and operational efficiency, organization has three important knobs to control, which is the people, process, and technology. Yeah. So the first knob that I want to talk about is people. Okay, people is a very key in improving the efficiency. So normally a very well-trained or a well-informed employee, relatively they are more efficient than those who are not. Okay? Like I told you earlier, right? Even if you have a best technology, but if you're not leveraging it, there's no point. Very simple example I can give you, right? I know that there are still people who doesn't want to use bank ATM card and they still go to bank to withdraw money, right? So that will increase the efficiency of the bank, right? If people are not changing their mindset, very difficult to increase efficiency if people doesn't want to change. So the first is people. So the second one is the process. Again, every organization, okay, has process. Process is a backbone for all organizations. Okay, if you have unoptimized process, okay, it has the potential to increase in inefficiencies by 12%. This is the survey's number. That is why you hear a lot of companies are striving to achieve process excellence because it's reduced cost. If you reduce cost, you directly reduces your carbon output. Okay, so for example, I can give you like in an oil and gas company, right? How you're gonna get things done quickly, right? We always talk about waterfall method. You do one and then go to the second thing and then you go to the third thing, right? Even in geoscience, you go to geoscience first and then do your engineering things and then you go to do your economics, right? So, how do you gonna make process get things done fast? Okay, that is why we are always pitching agile way of working these days so that we can achieve efficiency. We can get things done quickly with less amount of money, lower cost. At the end of the day, you get things done, right? And the third control knob, which is most important, is the technology, right? If technology is getting used in rightly with a perfect blend of people and process, it really helps the organization, achieve your net zero goal. So we use technology everywhere. This is the era of digital transformation. We use it everywhere so another thing I want to talk about is in the oil and gas industry, right? In the oil and gas industry, we always focus about increasing efficiency, okay, by applying technology, right? It is very difficult to generate new revenues these days in oil and gas industry because of its volatility of the oil price. It's very difficult to get more money because of the oil price, right? So it is better to increase your efficiency by using various methods, technology, and to increase your revenue instead of looking for a new revenue, right? And here I want to point out a point here, right? It is important to use the right technology in the right processes. Okay, so there are a lot of researchers on using drones to deliver food. Okay, whether it is a good business model, I'm not sure. What is the cost of a drone? We have to look at what is the cost of the drone, or what is the versus what is the cost of a Grab driver, right? Whether we can make money out of it, are we decreasing the cost? Or is it the right technology to use in food delivery? Is drone the right technology? I'm sure maybe yes if we can expand it in a massive quantity ways, in a massive ways, but it has to be highly regulated as well. Or is drone suitable to use in somewhere else? For example, I want to use it in essential services. I want to use, when there is a flood, when there is no, you can't travel by road, then we can use drone to deliver food, to deliver other things, right? So where we have this technology, but are we using in the right way? That is the open question. Yeah. So I've talked about efficiency. So no matter how much we tackle efficiency, right, we only can decrease our carbon emission. Okay, we would not reach our net zero goal or carbon neutral goal. Yeah. So for that, yeah, that is why a lot of companies and countries are investing into sustainable energy. So sustainable energy is energy that we can use for a longer time of period. There is no end to it, right? So for example, renewables, solar energy, wind, or hydroelectricity, right? Because we need to decrease the dependency for fossil fuels. If we increase if we increase our dependency on renewables, we could definitely decrease the dependency on the fossil fuels. Yeah, but this renewable energy is always depend on the country's how the country's placed geographically. Whether the country has the running water, whether the country face sunlight most of the time, whether it is in a coastline. So what are the resources that a country has is very important to get into this renewable energy. Yeah. So that is why a lot of oil and gas companies also, they are shifting themselves, rather than become an oil and gas company, they are shifting to become an energy company instead. Yeah. But
yeah, I just want to add, sorry, Banu. Again, just to remind, if you guys have any questions, just drop in your chat box beside, and then if you have any questions to our presenter. But like Banu mentioned just now, it's definitely an uprising business module in the solar panel, all the solar businesses, right? But what is your opinion? What is the future of this? We call it profitable businesses in solar panel and solar businesses. What do you foresee in the future?
Yeah, I mean, definitely it will decrease the dependency on the fossil fuels, but if electrification work everywhere, I mean, electrification won't work everywhere, right? It may not be possible to electrify heavily industrial processes. Like in the fast-growing, steel industry, cement, fertilizer, petrochemical sectors, you might not able to use renewable energy, right? You might we still have the dependency on the fossil fuels. Yeah, like Tesla has been there, since 2005, but how many electrical cars that we see on the road, right? It still has a lot of uncertainty. So for a heavily industrialized sector, we would probably look into other options rather than renewable energy. Maybe this is where technology kicks in when when these kind of plants that emitting a lot of carbon dioxide, what are the technology that you can put in, like equip carbon capture emission technologies, so that you can capture your carbon emissions. So the next thing I'm going to talk about is the carbon capture technology. Yeah, so it's very popular. It's getting a lot of attention these days. A lot of big companies like Microsoft has announced like $1 billion innovation fund for carbon capture technologies. The ExxonMobil also has put some money on this. Elon Musk also offered like $100 million for best carbon capture technology. Yeah. So the first one to look at is the carbon capture utilization and storage. CCUS. So basically what CCUS means is capturing carbon from pollution sources like coal-fired power plants, cement factories. So after you capture it, you can do two things with it. Either you utilize it or you store it underground, right? So, but it is not so popular. CCUS has been there for a very long time, but it is not popular because it is not really lucrative for the company to make money. Yeah, the process itself is very expensive, and there is also a lot of concerns about whether it is safe to store it long term underground, right? Yeah, and the second one is the DAC, direct air capture. So these is relatively new technologies. On the right hand side, this one is the purple. The second picture is the DAC, direct air capture plant in Texas. It is invested by Occidental Petroleum and also invested by Bill Gates. And basically, what it does is sucking out all the carbon dioxide directly from the air. It is a form of carbon negative technology. So what are we going to do after we capture this carbon dioxide? So if we can monetize the carbon that has been captured, okay, we may make it into a big thing, right? So either, we can use it for fertilizer sectors, or we sell it to carbonated drinks company, or even we can make it as a synthetic fuel. Yeah, some of the carbon dioxide really can turn into solid aggregate for concrete use. We can then sequester it into walls and floors of your houses. Yeah, and that is really reduces the carbon footprint of the concrete production as well. Right. So in my opinion, if you compare CCUS and DAC, I would rather go for CCUS because it is better to prevent than cure. If we can capture carbon dioxide straight away from the source, it's better than to capture carbon dioxide from the air that is already there. Yeah. So the last one that I'm going to talk about is conserve and compensate. Yeah. So we're going to talk about nature-based solutions, planting trees, preserving your forest, or conserve your forest. Yeah. So just a statistics for statistic purposes, planting 6 trees is equivalent to consuming 1 metric ton of carbon dioxide. Yeah. So just want to give you a fun fact. Do you know there's one country is actually carbon neutral?
One country.
Any guesses in the chat box?
Switzerland, Bhutan, yeah. Nepal, Jamal, I miss it, Nepal. But now there's 2. Okay, there's 2 now. Bhutan. Is it Bhutan?
Yes, I mean, you're right. Absolutely, Bhutan. Yeah. So Bhutan is actually 72% of the Bhutan is covered by forest. Yeah. It is very less industrialized nation. And the worth of the company, this GDP is basically $2 billion. Yeah. So a country's GDP is actually directly proportional to carbon dioxide emissions. Okay. So can we compare ourselves with Bhutan? Can China compare themselves with Bhutan? Can Malaysia compare themselves with Bhutan? Definitely no, right? Because China is way too much industrialized, way too many people populated. Even Malaysia itself, our GDP is about $360 billion. Yeah. So if Bhutan has took a strategy where conserving and compensating to become a carbon neutral, yeah, it doesn't work for all the countries. Yeah. Every country has to take their own approach. If Bhutan has taken this approach, maybe China would not achieve it by just conserve and compensate. Maybe they have to increase in reduction of carbon dioxide, but increasing the efficiencies, increase the investment in renewables, or invest in carbon capture technology. Yeah, same to Malaysia as well. Yeah, we might not achieve by just conserving. So every company, based on the resources that a country has, so your strategy would on reaching the net zero emission based on the country's resources that they have. So, irrespective of the country or an organization that is going through net zero journey, so everybody wants to achieve a net zero journey. So we need to understand the current emission. Yeah. So now we actually have to take out approximately 1 trillion tons of carbon dioxide from the air to reach this goal. Yeah. We have to understand where are we now, right? And define a realistic goal, right? In every organization, you have to have a goal and constantly measure your progress. Yeah, it is very important to measure your progress so that you know that what is the strategy that you are doing or the goal that you have put in, it's working or not. And then take a corrective action to reach goal of net zero emission. Yeah. So here is my favorite quote that you actually can't manage what you can't measure. This is from Peter Drucker. He's an author. Yeah. So I love this quote too much. Measuring is actually the key element to see where you are going. And this is where ALECA comes in. So ALECA helps you to measure carbon footprint of an energy project. Yeah. Just a little bit about ALECA. It's a cloud-based, agile-centric collaborative platform that we promote efficiencies by increasing the collaboration among different disciplines in energy industry. Yeah, so it's basically ALECA is homegrown. It's a Malaysian company. It's technology first. We support green environment. It's backed by the best minds of Gen X and Gen Z of Malaysians, and also the baby boomers of Canadians. So one of the core module is actually focusing on calculating the energy investment projects. So this module is developed by my amazing colleague Yasmin. So I strongly recommend you to join our next session to see ALECA in action and to know how to calculate carbon footprint. Yeah. So the last but not least, yeah, it's time to act, everyone. Take a baby step for a greener environment, a safer future for everyone. It is not only one person's action. You have to take a collective action from the country, organization, and as an individual, we ourselves as well. Yeah, it is one person doing it, you won't achieve this. Unless we find a safe home in Mars. Well, that's all from me.